Hi, I'm Chip Massey. I'm the co-founder of the Convincing Company, and you're listening to EA Interview.
This is Adele Gambardella, and you're listening to EA Interviews.
EA Interviews, episode 524.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Expert Authority World, are you in for a treat today? I have Chip Massey and Adele Gambardella on today's episode. And we're going to be talking about two of my favorite things. We got publicity, we got let's get out there and get more business, and hostage negotiation. I almost went into military. I almost went into be a lawyer. I love negotiating. I love persuasion. I love just using it to help people. And I'm super thrilled to bring both of them on the show right after we thank our sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. And that's why I'm launching my new book to help you regardless of where you think your current writing abilities are. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen, Chip Massey and Adele Gambardella. Chip, how are you feeling today?
Doing very well, Mario.
Adele, how are you feeling?
Likewise, doing well.
Glad to hear that. So I got to ask you both, I mean, you have such great backgrounds, but how did you guys get started? How did you meet? I mean, they're both different backgrounds.
Right. Adele, I'll just go ahead and start it. So Mario, right. I was what you would call institutionalized for 22 years, right? I was an FBI special agent and hostage negotiator. And after my career, I wanted to go into business for myself. And I started working around trying to figure out what what would be my offer, what was my best lead kind of who I was and what I could do for business. And I was at an entrepreneur dinner, and it was one of those things where we're just going around the table, and introducing yourself to the other people. And I heard Adele and what she did. I'll let her introduce herself a little bit, but the idea of her crisis communications and public relations background and reporting, right? It's like all these things combined. And I thought, that's somebody I need to talk to. And so we started talking about our backgrounds, our disciplines, and how,
Sure.
and Adele's starting already to say, I see how this could really complement each other. We need to talk more. So that's how it started for us. And Adele, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Chip's background's obviously fascinating, right? I mean, anytime you say you're a former FBI hostage negotiator, special agent, you're going to catch some attention, right? So I just thought what I did for a living, which was crisis communications for Fortune 500 companies, his level of expertise, bringing him in on some of the programs and projects that, I already had going would just create such a unique offering. And then we decided, you know what, this is actually even better than we thought. And we decided to write a book together. We co-founded a company together. We did a masterclass that sold out like literally 3 months after we met. We're like, okay,
That's
let's
fantastic.
do a masterclass together. And yeah, and so we've been really going strong for a while now. So it's been a really exciting journey, and continues to evolve. And I think as all businesses do, but it's been really exciting. And I think people just really appreciate our varied backgrounds and perspectives, especially the clients we work with. So
It is exciting. You got my attention, and I was like, wow. Because back in the day, I've always wanted to help people. So doctor, lawyer, FBI, CIA, police, and it still intrigues me. And like you said, there's very few people who can see it, but also the business side of PR and publishing, persuasion, all this, with owning a publishing company, it's like, how do you get someone's, not only get the message out, but more effectively and to the right people?
yeah.
So
It was a PR agency. And, for the first like 10 years of the agency, I did a lot of like frou-frou publicity, right? Like I would say, like, it was things like, but I was always in the serious side of it too. But for a while, I like made these cupcake girls super famous, and then I was getting all these like really kind of very light kind of work. And I just said, this is not what I have a journalism and poli-sci degree to do. I'm in DC. I'm like, I'm in the middle of politics. Like, what am I doing? And I literally went from like cupcakes to defense contractors. Literally, it was like such a huge jump, but it wasn't for me because that was what my background, lent itself to. I was just doing the publicity stuff because I was so successful at it. And I just said, what the heck, let's do it. And I just got sick of the superficiality of it. That's what I would say.
I can relate to that. You have the acumen to help anyone, but the question is, do you want to? And as great, as delicious as cupcakes are, like let's talk about some F-22 stealth coatings and
I mean, I made those girls like multimillionaires. So I mean, like, it's not like it was just a cupcake shop around the corner. I did make them multimillionaires. I didn't just do it, but it just didn't seem serious enough for me. It wasn't
no, in long term, you got to be excited about it too.
Right. Exactly.
And Chip, tell me more about the FBI, because I never went into it despite wanting to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it just so happened when I applied, Mario, they were hiring, and it was back in the pre-internet days. Okay. So we're talking, when I applied, I got a form in the mail about this thick, like a couple inches. And it said,
remember those,
right? Fill it out in its entirety, leave nothing out, and there's no like, you can't cross stuff out, not having. So all about your background, all about your relatives, your medical,
psych profile,
any reports on you, right? So all that, you put it in, you send it off to DC, but now it's so much easier. Now you just, you can apply online, and it's that simple. And if the Bureau is hiring and you fit the qualifications, you're in. And now Quantico is about 5 months of training as a special agent. And after you go through that, you are assigned to a field office, again, depending upon the needs of the Bureau. And so for me, that meant I went to Washington, D.C., and I started off on an espionage squad. So I was around there trying to track down spies and figuring out what they were up to. And after a period of time, I transferred over to the New York City field office, and that's where I spent the bulk of my career. And I became the hostage negotiator team leader for the city of New York.
Okay, a couple questions here I want to unpack. One, what did you like about hostage negotiation the best? What drew you into that? Because I know there's all types of different, divisions you can get into within the field and the agency. And also, how close do I think the recruit was CIA, but the show Quantico, the movie with Samuel L. Jackson, The Negotiator, how close are those to, because that's most people's only experience to it. So what did you like about it, and how close is everything that's portrayed?
Sure. The thing about Quantico is that you don't really have a lot of time to enjoy much. Just because of the nature of it. Doesn't sound
like a
right?
vacation based on what I know.
Yeah, the way I explain it is like this, Mario, is that every day they turn the dial up a little bit more on the stress level. Mm-hmm. So it gets a little bit harder every day. And the reason they do that is to see if you can handle the pressure of the job. And so it comes in various formats. You've got, so I would say that the show Quantico, that TV show, I've seen lots of it. And I love how they portrayed the idea of, this is kind of like a combination of, you're going to be going to an advanced kind of degree, higher level university training, and you're also, learning the very top in law enforcement. So you combine those two things together, and it's an experience like nothing else. But what I found, was that after, like I was started, I was, again, institutionalized, and I was trying to find my way through all that. But for me in the Bureau, absolutely the best part of of the experience was hostage negotiation. The reason why is because I could help people in a crisis situation. Because before I was FBI agent, I was a minister, and I was a minister for about 6 years. And I got very good. It was kind of my natural inclination to like you, Mario, helping people, right? And so in the ministry, you get an opportunity to help somebody every day. And it's like that in the bureau. You constantly
different situations, same problem.
Yeah. From different vantage points.
Mm-hmm.
So right. So specifically in hostage negotiation, then what I'm doing is I'm using a lot of my background as a minister, and then that was kind of turbocharged in the bureau as a result of what I learned in there. And what was great when I met Adele, Mara, she's got such an acute business mind. I mean, when she starts putting things together, and I feel like you're that kind of person too, Mario, is that she goes at a speed like light speed. I mean, it moves. And so she was, asking me questions about what I went through, kind of the experiences, the training, what are the kind of things I faced, and how did that form what I was looking at, and all the kind of techniques, strategies, and tactics. And she starts putting it together. And this is when she said we put together a masterclass. Mara, we met in August. That masterclass went up in 3 months. She put it together, sold out in New York City, and it was over 200 people. We had to make room for other people. But again, This is Adele's like PR, journalism, marketing background, and boom, we were off to the races. So that's kind of how that began.
Well, I appreciate for you sharing. Adele, let's pick up off of that, because that's a great point, and it's some of my next questions I was going to ask anyhow. I absolutely love, does that sound good, Adele?
Yeah, sounds great.
So some of the things, I absolutely love doing stuff at a high level. If you saw my books and the show, everything, I love, I have no problem being behind the scenes and just doing it like no one else at the highest possible level. So I think we're akin in that regard. However, yeah, you got to get in front of the camera and say something once in a while if you want to attract people to your business or anything. So tell us why you feel PR is so important. And your second parter is, how the heck did you get 200 people in person in Manhattan? How did you pull this off? Let's continue that story.
Oh gosh. And you know what? We actually have, so just ripping off of what Chip was saying about Quantico and what you asked about Quantico, one of the things that we have put together is this idea of business meets Chip's FBI and special agent background, right? And true crime, right? And so what we've done is we've put together this new masterclass that we're going to do in person. Don't have a date yet, but coming soon. So keep a lookout. And it's called Training So Good It's Criminal. And right, it's so fun. And it is a combination of both of our experiences. And so, like, how do you read people effectively?
That's so useful.
Right? It is. How do you read people effectively? How do you get to someone's unstated narrative? And we'll tell you what that is. How do you do what we call forensic listening? How do you convince someone of something, even when they're not really thinking they are going to believe you, right? And so, like, all of these techniques that are both what Chip knows, as a special agent and hostage negotiator, but what I also know as a publicist. I mean, one of the things, as a publicist, it's incredibly hard to explain, and most people don't get because they just think it's easy, is it really is about how do you set your client apart? How do you move at a speed that nobody else can move so that you offer your story at that time? And how do you position your clients in a way that makes them so unique that people have to look at them? I just don't know of any other combination of a publicist and a former FBI special agent hostage negotiator. I mean, it just doesn't exist, right? And so our combination of skills is really about convincing, right? Like, I'll let Chip talk about the idea of what a negotiation, the idea of the hostage negotiator really being a misnomer. And this is how we kind of came up with some of our content, Chip.
Yeah. And what we say in this, Mario, is that I never negotiated with anyone. That wasn't my job. I was not trained to be a negotiator, even though that's in the title. It's like Adele said, it's a misnomer. What I did was I convinced that person holding a gun to somebody's head to value what I valued at that time, which was life, which was let's let these people go, which was, and I need you to surrender to me. We didn't start there, right? And it was never going to be, all right, tell you what, you got 7 people in there. Let's do this. How about kill 3, give me back 4, call it a day?
Yeah, this
never going to happen. There was no, right.
Yeah,
there was no.
Can I get 20% discount? Like, you know.
Right. I mean,
it's all or nothing.
No plan B, right? No BATNA, right? There's not a win-win here. I have to win 100% or else somebody dies. Now that's going into this idea of convincing. And when Adele started asking me these questions about, what I did and how I did it, that's where it came down to. And again, going on Adele's like speed of light stuff. So we started just about the time when COVID hit. And so it became a pandemic just as we were getting going. After the second masterclass we sold out in DC, right after that, the pandemic was over us. And so Adele says, what we're going to do in this time? We're going to write a book. Like, sure, of course we
can't go wrong there.
Right. And that's what she does, and now we have a published book with McGraw-Hill called Convince Me. So yeah, Adele's holding it up there. So yeah. And that's how all this came about, with forensic listening and the unstated narrative.
I got to ask you about and this might be dating me, but does the FBI still use the fax system for reading faces?
So, yeah, there's technology out there that they are, that they're involved with. I don't know specifically what they've gone to. But yeah,
I've always wanted to. I've watched stuff where it's like someone's tied up in a chair here, and then the person comes in like they're the hostage, and they're like piecing together this whole scenario that they can't even see, and I'm just like, they're really picking up on. I think it's micro expressions in their face, and just I'm like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
So Mary, you have to come to one of our master classes, because what we're going to do is we actually put people in the middle of a hostage negotiation scenario, and we have them work.
Do we get guns?
You do not get no guns.
Okay.
You get armed with the knowledge of being.
There we go.
There you go. But yeah, no, I mean, like, and what Chip was saying about convincing, which is so similar to what I did as a publicist, really, right? So I mean, like, I would call up these major networks and just try to think of the fast thing I can say in like 60 seconds to get them to put my client on television, or to get them and so it really is kind of the same level of pressure. Obviously, it's not life and death, but
it depends how close the company is to bankruptcy.
Yeah, right. It could be.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you pop up that book again?
Okay. See,
here we go.
You
Very
practice
nice.
what you preach. You have to practice what you preach. I can't help. But yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So I have to ask both of you, because you have a book with Convince Me. You're talking about convincing, and I want to get both of your take. Is it really convincing, or are you helping someone encouraging them to the point where they're kind of deciding for themselves? I've heard two schools of thoughts with this, especially, let me frame it a little different too, especially when it comes to sales. Because some people go, oh yeah, once you learn this, you can sell anyone on anything. And then other people go, I've never sold anything. And they've done like tens of millions in business, and they go, I just get them to the point where they're seeing what they may not have so they can make the best educated decision, which happens to lead them to the sale. So what's your take on it?
So Chip, do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I would say is convincing really is an art and a science. And I think most people do it wrong, right? Most people start out with their strongest point first. And Mario, where does that leave the person who's hearing that strongest point? Like, where does it leave them? Nowhere to go, right? There's nowhere to go.
There's no upside. And if it's all beneficial to one and not the other, especially in business sales, it's like, okay, you're getting all the advantage. What do I get out of it?
Exactly, right? So you can't start with your strongest point first. What you have to do is you have to start with your point of agreement and move them down what we call a convincing continuum. And you've got to figure out, what are the points we agree on? What are the points where this person has such certainty that the certainty that they have is actually clouding their judgment? It's about unfreezing their cognitive biases that exist when you first start talking with them. And unfortunately, although this is the thing of dreams, we would love to start with our strongest point first, and the person would just go, "You're 100% right. I'm totally wrong. I've never seen it that way before." That is the thing of dreams, right? Like, that never happens. So what instead you have to do is move them down the continuum by using FUD: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you have to go, okay, like, you believe this to be true, but is it? You kind of put that uncertainty in someone's mind about what they believe to be true, and then you move them down your continuum. The trick for our stuff, and I think what's really unique to our perspective, is then you stop. You have to have the discipline to stop, because you could really get into like the saga of your righteousness for why you do something so much better than any of your competitors, and why your price is a better price and why they're going to get a better value. And you can keep going. And what you're going to do is you're going to get them to their latitude of rejection. The best salespeople, what they do is they stop and they provide a cliffhanger. And they make the person who they're trying to make the sale for, they make them go do the research. They make them confirm what it is they're trying to convince, right? They make them convince themselves. And the best salespeople do this masterfully. I'll tell you who else does it masterfully. Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Is phenomenal at getting you to watch and binge watch hours and hours of television, because they give you a cliffhanger after every episode finishes to get you to watch the next episode. And most of us cannot stand, if you're an intelligent, intellectual person, you can't stand having an open loop.
I was just going to say the open loop at the end of it. And I've noticed a lot of them are also speeding up the next episode. It just starts queuing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you end it, it's completely over. When you have that open loop, and for anyone listening that's not familiar with the terminology, it's from marketing. It's like the teaser trailers, and like we're talking about, when it's the unfinished, you're like, well, what's the answer? Your brain goes into whatever it goes into to go, we need to find the answer. Because I think I heard before that we're hardwired to, problem solve basically and find patterns.
Exactly. So if they can't find the open loop, if you give them just enough information about your product, about your service, about your offering, that they have to go find more information, and you point them to that place, you are going to have such an advantage over most people in sales, because most people will take them all the way to their latitude of rejection. If you can stop shy of that, you are going to be so much more effective at anyone in convince and having your client be convinced themselves. That's the trick.
For anyone listening, is there any, like, if I said, what are the top 3 open loops that you found the most effective? Do you have any that come to mind that are like, no matter what you're doing, here's a good way to frame it or structure it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the idea of like some of those, what do they call them? Hooks on Instagram, right? There's
instead of having a declarative statement, have it as a question. Instead of saying, we have a good roof, do you want the best roof? ?
Yeah. I mean, some of the statements really make a lot of sense too, though, right? I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up a couple of examples. One of them would be like, hack your way into 2024. And it's like, okay, how do I hack my way into 2024? That gives me just enough information that I kind of want to do that. I don't know how I do that, but I need to do that. Like things like, this group has been lied to for so long. Find out why. like these kinds of things that just give you a little bit of a teaser into what you're going to say. Like, I'm constantly amazed at why X do this, and then just stop. Right. And
Yeah,
it's
when you
like,
talk about a specific group that people tend to enjoy and like and everything, it's like, well, they think they have the answer, but it's like, here's why such and such group doesn't have the answer. And it's like, whoa, what do you mean? Everyone's got such interesting perspectives on everything that it's interesting when you find out the behind the scenes, because every business owner I talk to, it's like, wow, look at this corporation, look at this company, look at him or her. And every single one is like, yeah, we're just kind of figuring it out as we go along.
yeah, most people are, but like if you have discipline enough to write this convincing continuum script and stop and then lead people to a certain site or page or landing page, you are going to be so much more effective than other people, right? And this idea of what true crime does. I mean, like if you think about why true crime is so popular, and it is the number one genre on Netflix, on most places, it's because they give just a little mystery, and people cannot stand it.
Yes.
They have to find out why. And so that's what businesses really need to do better. They need to add a little mystery into their marketing, and they're just not.
Well, I know that mystery is a great hook also, and I'll add one in myself. Don't be generalized. A lot of people make general statements. The more specific you can be with the marketing messaging, I know that's a big one. I love the mystery one, mystery, curiosity, the authority, celebrity attachment. I mean, all of them are great. If you can I'll say that if you can legitimately do it in yours, go for it. But
yeah,
I'll behave. Let's see if I can get Chip and have him answer that before we go to the next thing. Chip, what's your take on the convince, persuade? Do you feel you're convincing them, like I was asking, or are you helping them realize, or something in between?
Right. And I think what we've come to, at least in our, always go back to, is the idea of,
Let me pause you right there real quick. The audio's cutting out.
Sorry.
All right. Let's try that again.
Nope.
Nope.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if anything changed. You were sounding good at first.
Okay. Let's see.
I really want to know what you have to say.
He's adding some mystery for you.
There we go. Absolutely.
Okay. How about this?
Now it's working.
Okay, great. That was because my power went down, Mario. I apologize.
No problem.
All
I
right.
not upset about that. I legit just want to know your answer.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we've said with the idea of the unstated narrative. And with the unstated narrative, what we mean by that is that everyone is going around with ideas about who you are, what you, and there is a disconnect between what someone actually believes about you and what they'll tell you to your face, right? Mara, you've run into this. And there's reasons for that, right? There's reasons for that, because if we all went around.
What was that last part? If we all went around.
Yeah. If we all went around saying exactly what we believed, in our head, that's the unstated narrative.
Oh, like Liar, Liar with Jim
Then
Carrey.
There would be so that's not how we operate. And what we need to do is be better investigators to find out what that person's unstated narrative is. What is it that they really believe about me? What is it?
The
how
5
close
levels
can
deep. What are the 4 things they're lying to me about? Oh, it's not the right time. It's not. No, it's not. What's the real reason?
Yeah. And another is how do they want to be perceived in the world? And that's a big one. And if you can get close to that, if you can get an understanding about how, then
What's that last part again? If you can get an understanding how.
Yes, of how they perceive themselves and how they want the world to see them, then you've cemented that relationship opposed to a competitor who you're working against, who doesn't take the time to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I know we're getting short on time, so I'm going to have to jump to the wheel of whatever, which is a lot of fun. And I want to, you both get to pick one. The color depends on the questions depend on the colors. So, Chip, since you're here, what's your color?
I'll go with blue.
It's yellow or black on the wheel.
I will go yellow.
I thought you were going to say I'll go with blue. That would have been great. So you want yellow, Adele?
Sure.
Oh, both yellow. Okay, maybe I can ask you both the same question then. There we go. So, what do you both got? You're both super impressive, and I legit wish we had like more hours and hours because there's so much I want to ask you both. But why don't you share with me a little secret you haven't told anyone? What's in store for the rest of this year and next year? You're already doing big stuff. You got the book. You're doing all this. What don't we know about that you've never told anyone before? I want to be the first to hear it.
I would say, this upcoming training that we're going to be doing is going to really surprise people. It's going to put them in positions, scenarios to be armchair special agents. It is going to be super high tech. There's going to be a level of cinematic focus that I think people will be surprised about. Yeah, it is going to be so much fun.
Okay, so I don't get a gun, but can I get a badge?
You can get a badge.
You'll get a badge.
You're going to get me a crown from Burger King too, I feel like, too. I think my dentist got some badges in the treasure chest. Chip, what about you? What you want to reveal anything that we don't know about? Maybe even Adele?
Well, I really, I really think I'm sorry, and I have to piggyback on Adele's because it's been our focus, and I just can't wait to bring this to the world. Yeah, it's exciting.
It's going to be so fun. I mean, I think people are just going to be so surprised by how we do it, and it's going to bring together these disciplines that are, we have a business partner, and his name is Matt. And he is a Emmy-nominated Hollywood screenwriter, and he's going to be helping put the cases together. So, I mean, it is going to be just, like, so fun. Yeah.
That sounds like fun. Okay, I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to ask you again when nearing the end, because I always ask where would you like people to learn more. But where can I want to make sure this is on eainterviews.com in the show notes. Where can people find out more about that specifically?
trainingsogood.com.
I'm really trying to host this well for you, but I really want to look it up because I'm curious. But we're going to thank the sponsor and come back for the imperfect action round, and I'm going to do my best to behave.
Well, see, we added a convincing cliffhanger. It's not quite live yet, so it will be soon. You can check it out. We'll send you the link, but it's really fun. I think it's going to be
I'm
fun.
still, you got my attention with it. And I'm like, okay, focus on the show. Don't rabbit hole, but we're going to thank the sponsor and we'll be right back. You've heard me say every business needs a book, including yours. And it's true. And that's why I'm launching my new book at eapublishingmethodbook.com so you can learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Take it from a few of my authors, like Lori.
And I went from having an idea and a possibility to actually getting my book published.
Or Catherine.
Thank you for making my mom #1 best-selling author.
Or Mary Alice.
What he got done for me in 3 days regarding my book launch, unmanageable.
John Cody.
I've worked with Mario over the phone and online, and he's been very helpful in getting me where I needed to go with promoting my books.
Rocio.
There's no way in the world I would have been able to do this with somebody else. I've attempted it in the past. It didn't serve me. As a matter of fact, I ended up more frustrated than anything. So this has been a very seamless process.
Adele.
If you're looking for an amazing business coach, I highly recommend Mario Ficini.
Or Bill Benner.
I can't make a higher recommendation than to work with Mario Ficini. He has been great for me, and right now I won't work with anybody else except for Mario.
Hey, their words, not mine. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get your copy, and I look forward to hearing your transformation as our next video success story. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. And we're back with the imperfect action round. Chip and Adele, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be super fun because I always have 3 questions, rapid fire answers, and I want you guys to just go one after another. It's the same questions, so we'll go with the first one, and let's see who's the quick. I feel like it's Family Feud. Let's do who's the quickest to the draw. So I'm not going to tell you who's first, but the first question is, what is the fastest path to the cash?
Ooh, group, 2-person negotiation. That's what I would say.
Chip?
Forensic note-taking.
Okay. Sounds fun. Second one. What is the biggest problem your prospects are making and the fastest way for them to fix it?
They are focusing too much on why something is unfair instead of solving their crisis by calling us immediately when it happens.
And I would say not thinking big enough.
Okay. Chip, you weren't joking about her taking fast action. She got you 2 out of the 3. You going to win this one?
I'm telling you. It's not made up.
Okay. Here we go. Rooting for you, Chip. 3. What is the best way to maximize customer lifetime value?
All right, she's going to let me do it. Unstated narrative, right? It's you're going to understand that person better than your competitor. And as a result of that, they're going to trust you. And as a result of trusting you, they're going to invest more time with you and do so much better in business and in life.
And for the record, I just saw it as you being polite. Ladies first. Adele, what's yours?
I would say one of the most important things businesses can do is set boundaries up front with their clients. Meaning you give people a perspective on what the relationship is going to look like, what you expect from them and what they can expect from you, and make it super clear, put it in a document, like make them sign it right from the beginning. And that is going to extend the life of the customer relationship because they're going to be invested in the same way you are. And sometimes that's unclear. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing that wrong. They're like, why doesn't the client call me back in 2 weeks? And it's like, well, you didn't say you needed to be called back within 24 hours. You didn't set that expectation. So I think that's one of the best ways to do it.
Very good. Very good. Here's the part. Where would you like? Oh, no, books first. What books do you recommend for Expert Authority World that have helped you?
Gosh, this is hard.
What? You pulled off all this other stuff. This is hard. I know you read.
Books. Oh, I do. I read a ton. I mean, I think I hate to say it because everybody's reading it, but it's so good. I mean, Atomic Habits is fantastic. It's a great book. It's really well done. I think the way he positions the habits is smart. I think, I think some of the classics are really good. I'm much more of a classic reader. I do read business books, but I would rather pick up Hemingway's Movable Feast.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Nerdy. I know I was a journalist first. Come on. What do you want? And the New Yorker. I read the New Yorker religiously.
I'm a big believer in the positive mindset. And a book that just had huge impact when I was in college was Norman Vincent Peale's book, The Power of Positive Thinking. I mean, it just radically changed how I saw things.
Great book. I like them all too. And Adele, when you said classics, I'm like, yeah, I'm reading a classic right now, Scientific Advertising, Claude Hopkins. It's from 1923, I believe, or 21.
Very cool. And some of the principles never change, do they? They really don't.
They talk about, it's one of the first books on split testing. He talks about having different coupons that people can, it's surreal. I'm like, holy smokes. He's like trumping everyone. So thank you for those. Always love that, especially being a publisher. Now, where would you like people to learn more?
trainingsogood.com.
Fantastic. I have thoroughly enjoyed having both of you on. This was a ton of fun. Thank you for sharing everything you had. I really do wish we had more time, but thank you for everything. I can't wait to look myself. You definitely at least have my interest peak, and I know anyone listening is going to be like, okay, we got to look into them more.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Mario.
All right, Expert Authority World, we have another great episode here today. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great day, and God bless. You're already the expert, but have you transformed your expertise into a tangible asset that will generate qualified leads while increasing profit for you 24/7? And if so, how well are you promoting it? With my new book, The Expert Authority Effect Publishing Method, I take you through my process step by step. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Visit eapublishingmethodbook.com to get started now. Once again, that's eapublishingmethodbook.com. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I would love to know what you enjoyed most from it. If you haven't done so already, I invite you to connect with me on my new LinkedIn. You can go to it directly at eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/LinkedIn. Lastly, check out the full eainterviews.com site for complete show notes, the full interview video experience, links to the resources we mentioned, and more. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you on the next one.